So it was like a nice dinner. So we're having a dinner. It was nice, but I just felt like I needed to talk to the person sitting next to me because I don't know. I just felt like I needed to talk because that's what you do at dinners, I assume. You talk. So I was just talking and talking and talking, and I really wanted to stop, but I felt like it would be rude, so I didn't stop. So I was just like burnt out. And then it was my roommate's birthday. So now they're talking about going to a club. And I texted my professor like halfway through the dinner. I was like, I don't think I'll be up to going to the club for her birthday because I just need a break. Like, I'm okay with sitting in the car for a little bit and then going in, or having the driver drive me to the hotel, but I physically cannot keep going. But because I didn't have service, it didn't go through, so she never got the message. So it's time to leave. We take a picture, and we get in the car. I kind of stormed to the car because I was like over it. So I'm in the car. I sit in the front. My spot is in the front. So I'm sitting in the front, and I have my headphones in, and I think somebody wanted my attention, but again, it's noise canceling headphones, so I didn't hear her, but I feel the person reach and grab the thing and then go back. So we get to the hotel, and everybody goes to their room. Everybody goes to do what they need to do. And there was like a secluded area. I always find like the secluded areas. So I think this happened before I went to the secluded area. Yeah, this happened before. So I called up my dad. So our room was right here. And I found like a little pocket where there was a chair and there was a stairwell. But it was a secluded area. So I'm sitting on the phone with my dad, and I'm explaining, like, I'm hysterically crying. And I'm telling him, they keep talking. I'm feeling overwhelmed. They keep talking. And he was like, you're like literally almost done. But I was just like, they just keep talking. I can't take it anymore. They keep talking. Again, I'm hysterically crying like somebody's hurting me because it did feel like they were hurting me. So I'm like, they just keep talking. He was like, okay, you'll be okay. What time are you coming home? Blah, blah, blah. Where can I pick you up from the airport? Things like that. And then he was like, is there a space where you can go to like take time or decompress? And I was like, yeah. So then I hung up with him. But while I was on the phone, I think I heard somebody like in the vicinity, because I heard someone say "aw," but I was like too in it to really care what was going on. To further elaborate, I was hysterically crying on the phone with my father. I'm sitting with my back against a wall, but if you were to walk behind me, that's where all the rooms were. So I'm sitting on the phone in what I assume was a secluded area, crying. And while I'm crying, I heard someone's door open, and I feel like I heard somebody say "aw," but again, I was too distressed to care to turn around or look. And the next day, I was walking up the stairs. No, I was walking down the stairs, and a woman was walking up the stairs. And I had said good morning to her, and she stopped and stared at me for a second and smiled and then said good morning. And I didn't really understand what that was, but I thought maybe that was a lady who said "aw," because I was sitting against somebody's room, and the room doors were not, I assume, solid core doors. Like, you could hear everything that was going on in the hallway. So in my mind, I rationalized that like maybe that was a lady who said "aw" and heard me crying, but I didn't really think too much of it. But also that interaction was very peculiar, that she just stopped on the stairs and was staring at me, smiling, and then said good morning. So I get up, I go to the secluded area, but you have to walk through a space and then walk up a flight of stairs. So as I'm walking through, my professor is having a conversation with one of the workers, and she sees me and she asked me in passing, like, "Are you okay?" And I didn't respond, but I just kept walking and went upstairs. So she came upstairs and she was talking to me, and I just broke down in tears. And for the first time ever, I felt like what she did was what I needed, because she was like, I kind of don't want to share this, but I'm going to share this. She was like, oh, can I hold you? And she just held me in her arms, and it was like really nice, because if she would have talked to me, I would have hated it. Like it would have it would have made it worse. But the fact that she was just like, can I offer you this? And it worked. And then once I was like regulated, I like stopped hugging her, and then we just had a conversation. But prior to that, I was like, can I be honest? And she was like, yeah, sure. I was like, this was a great trip and I'm very grateful, but there needs to be more space for people to decompress, like silence, because we're constantly on, we're constantly doing, we're constantly talking, and from my perspective, it was just too much. I was doing okay, but it's just too much. And she was like very receptive to that. She was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind in the future. And while I was talking to her, she was doing like bilateral tapping on my shoulder, and it was working. If it wasn't working, it would have annoyed me, but it was actually working. But it was like, I'm aware that she's doing this, but also it was like funny, but it was also, again, working. So I'm like, 1% of my brain is like laughing that this is happening, and then another part of my brain, like the larger portion, is like, well, this isn't really funny. You just had like a breakdown because people were talking too much. But I really appreciated that. No one has ever, well, outside of my Nana, has ever been able to assist me in that way, especially when it's like too much. It's like people write it off as like poor behavior or tantrums, but I was literally fighting for my life. It like, not to be dramatic, but them talking was doing something inside of me that was like ripping me apart, like ripping me to shreds. It was like too much, and to feel seen in that moment was great. I was really appreciative. I'll never forget that. And so after Guyana, my life has changed. I was traumatized by too much talking. No, I'm just kidding. But the talking was a bit much. So I leave Guyana, and I'm actively in a one-sided battle with my neighbors. Come to find out, one, she thought I wanted her man. Yuck. Two, she misinterpreted my behavior. Again, peer-to-peer interactions. Because I didn't speak to her, because I didn't acknowledge her, because I didn't want to be her friend, she took that as a threat. She took that as a personal attack, and she made it her mission to get back at me. But little did she know that I'm smart and I will sue you. So I sued her and her man and the landlord. But that was like a repeat pattern. People misinterpreting my behaviors as disrespect, or me being rude, or me being uppity and uptight, when in reality it was just me self-accommodating, and it was just me like being myself. But again, I've come to realize, just based off of observation, a lot of neurodiverse people externalize, and a lot of neurotypical people internalize. And I feel like that's another disconnect. But going back to Guyana. So I come back, legal troubles with these people. Prior to Guyana, I got into a car crash, but that's irrelevant. And I get a new job, and I'm starting this job, and I'm noticing things that are red flags. For example, during the tour, I had already done the interview. I had already talked about working here. The director at the time, she was speaking in hypothetical, like, oh, if you get the job. Or she gave me a paper that was essentially a job fair to get people to apply for the location that I was working. And I thought that was very inappropriate. I'm here for a tour and you're giving me work, but you're also speaking hypothetically as if I'm might be working there, might not be working there. So if I'm not working there, or I'm hypothetically working there, don't give me work, hypothetically. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. But I ended up working there. The red flags became fuchsia. And I made note of discriminatory practices. Retaliation started. Harassment started. They were constantly talking about how I'm not personable or I'm not social. But honestly, I think it was just like a cultural disconnect. But also they were intolerant of behaviors as such. Like, I would leave on my break to go for a walk to keep me balanced, to keep me sane. And that was an issue. I was coloring during a company meeting, but it was virtual. So what she saw was this. So it looked like I was writing. So during the next meeting, or no, at the same meeting, she decided to call me out, and she played a video on building rapport. And she said, Dasia, what are your thoughts on this video? Keep in mind, there's over 100 people in this meeting. So I told her, I don't think I raised my hand. She did not like that. So I sent her well, actually, I'm not going to get into it because this is like a legal thing at this point. But needless to say, it's a repeat pattern of me trying to make my life easier and people misinterpreting it as a personal attack on them. So the job thing, still ongoing, but after repeat instances of me doing something, people misinterpreting it, I decided that I wanted to seek out full diagnosis just to get clarity on how to best support me, because this is going to keep happening. I'm going to keep, I have no intention of stopping self-accommodating myself just to make other people comfortable. So it's going to keep happening. I'm going to get into these spaces. I'm going to self-accommodate. They're going to think I'm rude or this or that. Then we're going to go keep butting heads and I don't give up. So another thing that I had to come to terms with is just because you're winning does not mean that the person is not bullying you. And what I mean by this, at my old apartment, at my current-ish place of employment, I would be minding my business and people would start to attack me. But it's like, I don't want to use the word micro because I really hate the word microaggressions because there's nothing micro about it. They would do little things. They would do everything but hit me. And I would notice that and I would fight back. But I wouldn't account it as bullying because I was fighting back and winning. Or I was fighting back as a single person against multiple people. Often it's always multiple people. And it's not a fair fight, but I'm still winning. So I never really wanted to take on the label of, oh, they're bullying me, because I perceived it as me being the victim or victimizing myself or weakness. But that's essentially what it is. They are bullying me, or they often bully neurodivergent people. And because they're not physically hitting me, I just kind of write it off, or I try to rationalize it or intellectualize it into something less than what it is. But really, what I had to start doing is equating it to them actually hitting me. Like emotional, psychological, financial abuse. I had to really sit back and say, like, okay, they're doing everything but hitting me, but that doesn't make it okay. So I had to imagine like they're literally jumping me with their words and their actions. So imagine you're like walking down the street, minding your own business, and somebody clubs you over the head. Essentially, that's what they're doing. You're minding your business, walking down the street. You do something that they don't like. with their words, with their actions, they're clubbing you over the head. And you're like, ow, what the heck? What just happened? And then you're walking again. And then they club you again. And you're like, okay, someone is hitting me, but I can't really figure out what's going on. So you're walking, but this time you're waiting for the club. Boom, you see it. And then you start attacking them back. So now you're clubbing each other, but they're bringing in more people to start clubbing you. But they don't know that you have like jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, kickboxing experience. So you're one person beating up 5 to 10 people, and they don't like that. And eventually, from my experience, even when I lose, I win. So this could go on for days. This can go on for months. This can go on for years. And I had to learn that with neurodiverse people, they have a strong sense of justice, but also there's like, once your mind is made up, especially like ADHD and autism, once your mind is set on it, that hyperfixation thing ain't no joke. So yeah, that's how I had to imagine it. Like, even though they're not hitting me, there's still evidence of bruising. There's still evidence of scars, and taking away like the strong Black woman narrative, like some things you shouldn't really have to experience. And they are okay with bullying and being immature and engaging in harassment and essentially workplace bullying, because there are people and systems in place to protect them. And also, they're intimidated by you. And they're weak. To put it plainly, they're weak, and they're intimidated by you by a silent strength. And a lot of neurodiverse people have a silent strength, and there are things that make them special, and they're intimidated by that. So instead of, I don't want to say praising you, but instead of not being jealous and insecure, they can't help it. And I had to realize that too. Some people are just insecure and jealous, and they don't really know why. But it's not your job to help them figure it out. Oh, okay. Wait, where did I leave off? Okay, so after the Guyana immersion, we went out for lunch, and I was explaining, I was like, I don't think it's normal that I was crying because people were talking too much, so I'm gonna get diagnosed. So I got diagnosed. So on Thursday, I will be getting diagnosed, and I will circle back. But I don't want to make it my personality. I feel like I see it a lot on the internet, that people get diagnosis and they make it their personality. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but from my experience, how I've seen other neurodiverse people treated, I wouldn't say I would make it my personality, but I don't want to be like the Jesse Jackson of autism or neurodiversity, but I do want to speak out on that, because from my experience, the way that people talk about neurodiverse people is criminal. It's sick. It's mean. And it's uncalled for. Instead of making little changes or attempting to get to know the person, you then target the person. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So in my practice, if I can do things to assist neurodiverse people, because all of the clients that I've had that were neurodiverse, we've made great progress, great strides. And one client, they felt the need to say, oh, I don't know if you know this, but I'm neurodiverse. What made you feel like you needed to say that? And they said it from a place of shame. Like, I've observed that a lot of neurodiverse clients that I've had, they have an immense amount of shame in regards to their neurodiversity and diagnosis, simply because of the people in their lives that have made them feel that way, and that's not right. Like, you shouldn't be feeling like that. And to my final point, I was thinking a lot about the diagnosis and what my life would be like after the diagnosis. And I was watching some videos. Again, I don't like to consume a lot of media on this, at least now, because too much information is just too much. So some people get on the internet and they cry. They cry because they feel like they were missing out on something, or they feel a sense of loss, like, man, I wish I would have known sooner, or they treated me this way because of this, and they feel a sense of grief. That's not my experience. Honestly, I knew something was off, and I say off again, not in a negative way, but I knew something was different, but I just didn't have language for it. But even in knowing something was different about me, people were terrorizing me, and I terrorized them back. So for some people's experience, they identify, I was treated differently because of X, but I didn't do anything about it because I didn't know what X was. But for me, I didn't have to know what X was. I identified that you're treating me this way. The way you're treating me is inappropriate, so I'm going to terrorize you back. So my advice for anybody who thinks they're neurodiverse or is actually neurodiverse, there has never been a moment where I regretted standing up for myself. There have been many moments where I regretted not standing up for myself. So once I realized that I don't know why I just went out of focus. There are moments when I realize, hey, this is not right. So you have two options: to do nothing or to do something. And one thing about it, I'm gonna do something. Even if I have to circle back and address it weeks from now, because it really does eat at you. Like, why are they treating me this way? I don't understand. But you don't have to understand poor behavior. You don't have to understand bullying. It's all about what you do about it. And it's easier for me to say because I have a lot of experience in standing up for myself in multiple ways. But I think that's also a strength of mine, especially as a therapist. There have been many clients that come in that struggled with advocacy and standing up for yourself, and we work through that. And I didn't really share anything personal about my experience, but through my experience, I'm able to help other people stand up for themselves. And I think that's really important. And just to reiterate, there has never been a time where I felt bad for standing up for myself. I might have regretted the delivery, because I did have a hitting problem at one point, but I did not regret standing up for myself. I've always regretted not standing up for myself. So yes, I get diagnosed on Thursday. I don't think I'm gonna tell other people. My sister had to fill out the questionnaire, and my dad had to fill out the questionnaire. So I'll probably update them, but everybody else, no. I was in Trinidad, and I was with a relative, and we were watching like a special on autism and ADHD, and I kind of soft launched like, oh, I have ADHD, and they were like, oh, okay. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna tell people, but I won't tell people unless it comes up. But I did ask them what are their thoughts on autism in Trinidad, and they're very, very accepting, very open. They also have equine assisted therapy in Trinidad, so that's a conversation for a different day. So I'll come back on Thursday in a different video with the results. And in closing, stand up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. Toodles. Okay, I'm gonna do a thumbnail. 1 second. Okay.